Hey y'all, it's Wildcat6305 coming to you from Ike's Treehouse outside of Augusta, Georgia. Just want to do a video today talking about house rules, just in general. No specific house rule, but just give you my opinion and my philosophy on house rules, and it may hopefully this will kind of give you some insight into future videos of how when I explain a house rule or how I do something, maybe that will give you some insight. But I think overall, I think everybody can agree the reason you have house rules is because there are some element of a game, whatever game it is. It doesn't have to necessarily be Axis and Allies, but there's an element of the game that you don't like, that you feel is broken. You and the people that you play the game with, just this element doesn't work for you. So what do you do with a board game? Let me back up. If you're playing a video game per se, and there's something you don't like about it, there's really nothing you can do about it. You just got to live with it, and you got to hope that maybe the developers will change that bug, change that mechanic in the next release, in the next update, in the next game, and just kind of have to hold your breath for it. But in a board game, when you encounter an element of a game that you don't like, well, it's a board game. You can control it. If you got a better idea, you can just implement it by making a house rule. So that's really that's what a house rule is. You've overruled the out-of-box rules. Well, yeah, and why would you do that? Because, simply put, because you don't like it. You want something else. You think you got a better idea, which you have that complete liberty to do. And that's really the essence of a house rule. It may sound silly. It's like, why are you making this video? This is just a complete no duh. That's what a house rule is. You're explaining what a house rule is. But yes, I mean, so my house rules may not work for you, and your house rules may not work for me, or they may work for each other, or they may both not work for either one of us. But the whole point of a house rule is you're trying to adjust and adapt and tailor the game to the people that are playing the game, whether if that's the people playing in the treehouse or the people playing at a different gaming location. You're trying to get the game to fit that crowd and to work for that, for the people playing it. So, to me, just overall, some things about house rules that I found useful throughout the years on not just Axis and Allies, but different games in general, is when you create a house rule, it's always important to write the house rule down, to have it written down. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a Word document or some fancy publisher printed thing, but you do need to have it written down. And if you're trying to play, make sure you write it down. And for 5 minutes, put on your attorney hat, put on your lawyer, and think about how you need to write that rule. And then go away from it and come back to it and make sure that it makes sense every time you read it and it's conveying the message that you're wanting it to convey, and have somebody else look over it. Because really, you don't want to have a house rule that's, oh, this is how it goes, and you just said it. It's not written down. And then when you have an issue with that house rule, well, then you can't remember the exact phrasing that you used. You know your intent behind it, but that may have not that message may have not have came through. So you want to have it written down. So then if there's any issues of, oh, the interpretation of the house rule, or there was a misintent taken from that house rule, you're able to go back and correct it and revise it and get it to the way that you're wanting it to. So that's my biggest thing with the house rule, is make sure you write it down. And then in addition to writing it down, make sure that you like the house rule. There's no point in making the house rule or playing the house rule that you don't like. That is just counterproductive. If you're trying to make a house rule, it's because you're trying to make the game better. I don't need to make a house rule that makes the game worse. If the house rule does not add to my fun of playing the game, it's a bad house rule, period. Some house rules are going to break the game, and I don't think anybody means to break the game, but just try to think them out before you make a house rule, because if you make one and it breaks the game, then you're probably going to have to tool it back or get rid of it entirely. And Der Kunstler has some good videos about bad house rules that he's made, and it was really comical for me to watch it, not from the aspect of look at Der Kunstler, but the thought of like, oh wow, I was actually thinking about that house rule, and he shared how it was horrible. To me, it was just comical of like, oh wow, I was going down that same path that Der Kunstler was going down, and he's already been there, seen it, saw it didn't work, and came back from it and has doing something else. So that's my short little rant on house rules, and hopefully it's, you can gain something from that. And like I said, the biggest thing to me, the two biggest things from house rules are having it written down and making sure you like it. Because if you don't like it, why have it? And as Young Grasshopper says, may all your roles be won.